All right, YouTube, this is Mr. Mean coming at you this fine Sunday morning about 10:15 a.m. I hope all the meanies out there are doing well. Today's video du jour is a hot topic. Well, because I ran into it last night, and so it's a hot topic, kind of, sort of, for me. Of course, with all the WotC Hasbro drama going on and Orc versus OGL and all this stuff, and I think the hubbub is starting to die down a little bit as long as certain executive members of WotC and Hasbro keep their mouth shut and don't piss off the community anymore. I think we'll be okay. But hopefully things are going to settle. The OGL apparently is going to stay the way it is. I haven't been keeping my pulse on it because I don't really care. I'm not a huge fan of 5e. I know there's a lot of companies out there that it's their bread and butter and they survive on it, and I wish them well, but I don't buy their products. It's just not my cup of tea. Every once in a while, I'll pick up something that strikes me, because I can convert it to low fantasy gaming or Delve, or the Dark Eye, and the other games that I prefer to play. Castles and Crusades is a big one for me. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about today is this is kind of pointed at UGMs and fellow game masters, and a little bit towards the players, but mostly to UGMs. But players are going to get a lot out of this. I constantly hear, and I've experienced it myself. Nobody wants to play the game I want to run. Nobody wants to play Pathfinder. Nobody, everybody only wants to play D&D or an OSR clone, or they only want to play Shadowrun and they don't want to play D&D. Whatever the game du jour is, nobody wants to play what you want to run. And so you're forced to run games that you're not necessarily excited about. And I have personally been in this situation. When I moved here to Duluth in 2018, this was a D&D town. I mean, people were playing other games, sure, but they were doing it in their house. They weren't looking for new players. They're playing with high school, college, grade school friends, and they had a very cliquey, group, and they didn't let new people into the group. And that's very typical of small towns or medium-sized towns like Duluth. Um, Technically, Duluth is considered a city, but I think, opposed to the places where I've lived, this place is tiny. We have one game store in town. I mean, the next game store is across the bridge in Superior. So technically, it is close enough to get to, but we only have one legitimate game store in town. And they don't even sell a ton of RPGs. They sell mostly models and miniatures. So anyway, my point being is, how do you, as a GM and or a player who's aspiring to be a GM. And by the way, if you are a player and you have an inkling of, you've ever thought to yourself, gee, I can do this better, or man, that looks like a lot of fun. Looks like the GM is having a lot of fun. How can I get on this? Let me tell you something. And WotC said it best. Uh, there's many, many more players than there are GMs. Now, are you going to pick up the books and be amazing at it? Are you going to be a Matt Colville or a Matt Mercer or a Mr. Mean? No, you're not. It's a talent. It's like painting miniatures. No one is a Da Vinci overnight. It takes time and practice and learning, feedback, reading. There's a lot of reading. I will say this: the Dungeon Master's Guide for D&D has a lot of good information in it on GMing. The Castle Keeper's Guide for Castles and Crusades is probably one of the best books I've read in a long time that has great fundamental knowledge for a basic game master when you're learning a game. And I will say, from my 30 plus years, almost 40 years of GMing, the number one rule that I will say is the rule of fun. If you've got a campy group and they're goofy and they crack jokes, run a more humorous game. There's nothing that says the beholder can't have a googly eye. If that makes everybody happy, go with it. If you run a super serious game, and the Monty Python jokes always break out in any role-playing game. Someone can find a reason to crack a Monty Python joke from the Holy Grail or the Life of Brian or whatever it may be. So first and foremost, have fun. Don't try to absorb all the rules in one setting. Use the basic rules. Most RPGs will start with these are the basic rules, these are the advanced rules or add-on rules, or they'll have a little box, that tells you this is, an advanced or an intermediate rule, whatever it may be. Learn the basics first, the basic die mechanic, the basic premise of the game, and what the game is trying to get you to do, and then expand upon that, and you'll have a much easier time. And listen to your players. What kind of game do they want to play? What do they like about? But we'll get into that a little deeper further. I made a list of 7 things that I think are important for trying to start a new group or find new players or break your group into trying a different game. And that's the more important part. You know, you're playing D&D, you've been playing it for 10 years, 5 years, 7 years, and nobody in the group wants to try Pathfinder. Nobody wants to try Castles and Crusades. Nobody wants to play The Dark Eye, some German game from across the sea. Bah, we don't play that. I play D&D. Ease them into it. Don't. The worst thing I think you can do is everybody shows up for game night and you're prepped to run The Dark Eye, and all your players sit down and go, "What the fuck is this? You know, this isn't D&D. This isn't Pathfinder. It's not Shadowrun. What are we playing? No, I don't want to play this." You're going to immediately meet with negativity, and they're going to go into it with a negative mindset. And we know emotions breed emotion. So if one player at the table is having a bad time or he's not happy, he or she is going to infect the other players negatively, and that's going to affect you, because when you see your players aren't having a good time, you're not having a good time. Because let's face it, if you're a game master, really at the bottom, at the crux of it, what you want is A, to tell a good story, an engaging story, and B, entertain your friends. It's really what there's a part of you that's an actor, a thespian, a goof, whatever it may be, and you want to entertain your friends, and that's why you're the game master. And that is all the right reasons to be a game master. So these are 7 things that I find. Now, if you've got something to add to it, put it down in the doobly-doo. I try, if you're new to the channel, of course, like and subscribe, tell your friends. Let's grow the Meanie Army. We have a very active Discord. We're always chatting on there, but hit that like and subscribe, help the channel. And if you really got an extra $5 a month, who does? I know I don't. But if you do, Patreon helps support the channel. So here's my 7 things to do when starting a new group or trying to introduce your group to a new game. And I think all 7 of these are extremely important. This is not a, number 1 is number 1. This is a list of things that maybe you should jot down on a notepad, come back and watch this video again, to basically understand the concepts of what I'm trying to get across. And I've used this method many, many times, and it has proven tried and true for me. So number 1, talk with your players. That's key. If you're playing D&D, again, like I said, and you sit down and you're going to run Castles and Crusades and you've got new character sheets in front of them, the players are going to be hesitant at best. At worst, they're going to be antagonistic and or just shut down and not want to play or be interested. So talk to your players in advance, 2 or 3 sessions. Hey guys, Tommy can't play 3 weeks from now. He's going out of town, with his wife. So I don't want to keep advancing the D&D story because I want Tommy to be a part of it. So that night we're still going to get together, because here's the number 1 hard part about gaming as adults. It's herding cats. And you as the game master put a lot of work into running your games and organizing and setting them up. And so the hardest part is a lot of times we have kids, we have jobs, we have responsibilities, we have chores and things that have to get done that there's just not enough hours in the day. But we set that, Saturday night from 6 to midnight aside for gaming, right? We meet with our friends, we break out the chips and the crackers and the sodas, and we crack silly jokes, and we put some music on, and we play D&D or Pathfinder, The Dark Eye, whatever the game du jour is, we play it. So after you do that, statistics and science says that after you do something 3 to 4, maybe 5 times, it becomes rote, it becomes habit. So don't break the habit. That's the quickest way to dissolve a group, is to stop running your game and hope someone else will pick up the GM strings to run the game. The group will dissolve. I've seen it happen a million times. So talk to your groups in advance. Guys, Tommy's going to be out 3 weeks from now. We play every week. We're still going to get together. I'm going to run something different. I've been looking at this game called The Dark Eye, and it's really cool. It's like D&D. Sell them on the pros of the game. You're rolling about, if you got the dice chucker in the group, there's always one player that likes to roll a ton of dice. There's one player that's the combat monster, the murder hobo. There's the one player who's, the bard or the seductress, or, seducer type character. Sell it to them, and that, oh, you can do this, you can build a character. I'm going to make pre-gens. it's going to be totally cool. You guys are going to come down. You're going to Jones on this. I'm telling you, your enthusiasm will breed enthusiasm to them, and it will come back to you. So make sure you sell them on the game. Maybe have a little flyer or something. Go to the company's website and, and print out a flyer. A lot of times, if you reach out on their Discord or their forums or to the website that has an email address and you say, hey, I'm going to run a local game. Do you have like a flyer or anything that has the selling points of the game? And they'll send it to you, because players that play games buy books. It's that simple. So all these companies, at the end of the day, they want to sell books. That's the bottom. They're doing this to make money, and if you can support them, so much better. So preparation is key. Go to your and if your gaming group says no, we ain't playing it, nobody shows up, don't get discouraged. You want to play Castles and Crusades. You've been playing D&D for 10 years. You want to try something new. You want to play Traveler. Whatever the game is, it doesn't matter. You want to play a different game. If your local group isn't into it, or maybe one or two of them in, said, hey guys, Fred's not into it. He doesn't want to play. He's expressed no interest. Okay, we're going to go to the game store and we're going to see if we can drum up a couple players. Your job as a GM then is to go to that local game store, talk to the owner or the manager and say, hey, 3 weeks from now, my gaming group's kind of taking a little hiatus from our D&D campaign. Could we come in the store and play The Dark Eye? Could we play Pathfinder? Could we play whatever the game is that you want to try, that you want to expose your group to? First of all, if you want to try it, you're already excited about it for some reason. So that's going to bleed over, like I said, the enthusiasm is going to bleed over to your other players, to most of them, hopefully. And so you being excited, having a place to play. Look, I talked to the local game store. They said they're going to give us a table and we can play, and they sell snacks and sodas there. The pizza place is right across the street. We can take a break and go eat dinner, instead of playing in my house in the basement and, da 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 da. It'll be a change of pace. It'll be fun. It's easier to get people to go when you add a lot of positives and there's not very many negatives. So again, the first step, not number one in numerical order, but one of the things you need to do is talk with your players, plant the seed, so to speak, get them on board with trying a new game, and use whatever excuse it is that you need. Tommy's going to be gone in 3 weeks, so we're going to try The Dark Eye because Tommy's not here. Or we're going to play Delve, or we're going to play Black Iron. It's like D&D, but it's only darker, and it uses the 5th edition rules. So hey, you're still playing D&D, you're just using a different, setting. So, that's one way, the second step that I think is mondo important for the GM is be prepared. What does be prepared mean? That means have quick starts available, have pre-gens ready, know the basic rules. We talked about that in the beginning. Read the basics of the book. What is this game about? What's its core mechanic? Know that. You don't have to know it inside and out. Keep the rule book close to you, but a lot of these games have like like a player's guide, or they have like a primer or a introduction. A lot of companies, like here's one for example, The Dark Eye, One Death in Grangor. This is you play this character right here, who's basically a young thief. This is a solo play. This is a choose your own adventure type book. If you do this, uh, if I do this, I make an etiquette check, and depending on my successes, the way that this game works, you have levels of success, and then it'll tell you oh, well, then go to this page and do this. So this is, and this is not thick. You can go through this in an afternoon. This is going to teach you the basic rules, and then you can teach your players. And if you got one player that might be like, hey, I don't know about that, give them this, and it's available as a PDF as well. So, but the other thing I wanted to show is there's a lot of companies that'll have starter kits. Pathfinder has an amazing one. Zweihander has a really good one. This is a chunky box. This was $30, and everything you need to play is in here. There's handouts in here. There's pre-generated characters. There's cards for like the spells and stuff. So if you can find one of these for $30, I think the Pathfinder one is 30 or 40. I can't remember. They usually come with a pre-existing, intro adventure. So if you have the money and you have the time and you're serious about it, pick this up. And then if your players like it, maybe they pick it up and say, oh, okay, I want to go buy the core book or buy the PDF. This is available as a PDF as well. So always look for these starter boxes. It's a great way to introduce your players to a new game. Part of being prepared. You're going to have everything you need to play the game in that starter box. And you're going to have the basic introduction to the rules. It's going to be an easy primer. It's not going to be super difficult. And you're going to have some cool handouts. Um, this is the pre-generated character from Pathfinder. This is Valeros. He's a first level fighter. There's a cool picture on the back. And on the inside, it explains everything. Now, not all starter boxes. Whoops, that's all the player characters. I'm sorry. Not okay. We're dropping everything here. I'm having a day. Slow down, John. Relax. Um, it tells you what the dice are, so if you've got new role players that have never played a game before, this walks you through the character sheet and tells you everything they need. And it's got a whole bunch of pre-generated characters in it, so you don't have to spend time making characters. A lot of times with these games, the most arduous part of the game is making characters. Arguably, it's the most fun part of the game, but it's also the part that takes the most time. You need to know the rules. You need to know the ins and outs of character creation. But it's nice to have pre-generated characters because you're prepared and you're telling your players that you're prepared. You're telling your players, hey, I'm serious about this. I want us to try this. They may not know it. They may not think it right away. But in the back of their minds, their brain is saying, look, this guy's prepared. He's ready to run this. Let's give it a shot. So anything you can do to ease the players into a new game that they may or may not want to play is always going to be a positive thing. So do your best to do that. Find those pre-generated, solo adventures that you can go through, learn the rules so you're prepared. And of course, that also goes with an introductory adventure, which you'll find in a lot of these starter kits. You want to read that and know it. You don't have to know it verbatim, but know the premise, know what's going on so that you can run the adventure smoothly and you're not sitting there trying to flip through the book every single time. Have the things you need to run the game. Have blank character sheets after the session. When the players, hopefully things go well and everyone's like, man, I really like that. I would play that again. Give them a blank character sheet. Here, take this home with you. Maybe you can find the PDF online and you can buy it. And here's blank. Make a character. Let's see what you come up with. You're putting some of the excitement on them because you're saying, hey, I'm interested. I'm interested what you want to do. Here's blank character sheet. Do it. And it might it'll promote a sale of a book, hopefully, and B, it'll jazz them up to play the game more. Now they bought the book, now they want to play the game, right? We don't just buy a game. Well, unless you're me, you don't buy games to not play them. And I can honestly say 98% of all those games I've played at least once with a group. So take that for what it's worth. Be prepared also is having the accoutrements, the GM screen, character sheets, the proper dice, tokens, chits, a grease board, mats. You don't have to go out and buy all this stuff. You can do theater of the mind. It's perfectly fine. But if you're already in an established game group that's playing a game, chances are you're used to using most of that stuff. And so therefore, picking up the stuff, this was free. This is the GM screen from Dungeon Crawl Classic, and it was on free GM day or free game day that they gave it out. Judges screen, free RPG day. I got this down in Beaumont, Texas when I was living down there. And this is the same screen you would buy off their website, but I got it for free because I went to GM day and I participated. So I got a free GM screen and it had a little adventure in it and stuff. So, and to this day, I still use this GM screen. I mean, and this is almost 10 years old. I lived in Beaumont in 2012, 2013. So this is, we're in 2023. So it's held up the test time. It's just heavy card. It's nothing fancy. It's slightly glossy, as you can see. And it's a good GM screen. So be prepared. Have the items you need to run the game. You don't need to go out and buy the specialty tokens that have, the dark eye symbol on them or, the Savage World tokens. You can use plain old plastic poker chips that you picked up in the dollar store. You don't have to have very expensive items to make the game work. So have the things you need. It will help grease the wheels of learning and make you, the more comfortable you are as a GM, the more excitement and enthusiasm and the better of a game you're going to run. And it's always going to be awkward for that first game, but if you're going into it bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, you're going to have some fun and it's going to carry over to the players and it will be infectious. So number 3, learn the basics of the setting, right? You may know the rules to Shadowrun and how to formulate dice pools and calculate threat and everything, but if you don't know the cybertronic threats and the mega corporations and the arcologies, and you don't know the basic premise of the setting, you're going to run a poor game. You know, there's only so much you can pull out of your ass, as the old saying goes, and you can wing it. You need to read, know the setting, at least know the basics of it. It's a dark dystopian future. Money has little to no value, but yet everybody covets it. And you're, you know, a street thug trying to make it get a name for yourself. You're, you know, or you're a hot decker, which is a computer guy in the game. You're a hot decker trying to, you know, trying to make a name in the on the matrix for yourself. So there's things you have to know as a GM. And the more you know, the more your players are going to learn, because then they're going to be interested in it. When you speak knowledgeably of something, it will entice the other players to learn more. So know the basics of the setting, not the mechanics. We've already talked about the mechanics. Know the basics of the setting, what game world you're playing in, what moves and shakes this world, what's the basic premise, what's the world like. Are you playing on Earth? Are you playing in a dystopian future? Are you playing in a, you know, Jurassic period in Earth, or an alien world, you know, with lasers and star swords and star knights? And, you know the basics of your setting. I think that that's pretty self-explanatory. Number 4, run something that excites you, the game master. Your excitement will bleed over. We've kind of talked about that already, so I'm not going to beat that with a dead horse. But if you're excited, if you're like, okay, guys, we're going to play Castles and Crusades, it's kind of like D&D, you know, and your players are going to pick up on that energy, and they're going to kick it back to you. What's given out is pushed back, right? So, but if you're like, guys, we're going to play Castles and Crusades, this is cool. If you like D&D, you're going to love this. It's different. It's, you know, but it's similar, and it's a D20 based game, and you want to roll high. So all your dice are going to work. And, you know, it's got goblins and kobolds and orcs, and, you know, and you can be a halfling illusionist, you know, you can be a dwarf cleric, you know, sell the game basically, you know, because that's part of your job as a dungeon master or a game master or a storyteller or an operator, whatever you want to call it, is you're going to sell the game. So you've got to have that, something that excites you. Don't run something that you're not excited to run, because it's going to show. And the next game that you are excited about and want to run, your players are going to be like, you know, he talked about this, you know, Shadowrun game, and that was kind of boring. So I'm sure this is going to be boring too. So energy feeds energy, right? So get them excited about it. Run something that excites you. That's going to bleed over to them. So number 5, I want to make sure my beard isn't. Number 5, be prepared that not all will enjoy the game. This is just a fact of life. Not everybody likes apples. Some people like oranges. So I'm going to take this off because it's annoying me. I'm going to put it, I wish there was a place I could put it. Let me see if I put it right there. Well, let's sit up there. No, trying to keep it. Well, I'm just going to hold it and use it like a microphone. So hopefully that sounds better. I'm going to go back and check the audio before I post this. And if I have to re-record it, I will. So, number 5, be prepared that not all will enjoy the game. This is a fact of life. Like I said, a lot of people like oranges. Some people don't like apples. So, or like apples and they don't like oranges. So you're not going to please everyone all of the time. So be prepared for that. Don't let that ruin your enjoyment or everyone off the table. You know, you pull Bobby aside and you say, hey, I get you don't like the game, but, you know, you're being kind of a dick. If you don't want to play, that's fine. Just, you know, call it a night. I'll see you next week when we play D&D. You know, but if it's not your cup of tea, let's not ruin it for everybody else. But I recommend you pull that person aside. Don't do it in front of everybody unless you're really, really close friends and you're like, hey, John, you're being a dickhead. Come on, dude. We're all here to have fun. And then, you know, if you're that close with everybody, then you can do that. But you know your group, you know your friends. If you're in a convention setting, you're in a game store where you're playing with people you don't know, be polite. Pull them aside. Say, you know, let's take a break, guys. Hey, John, can I talk to you for a second? Pull them aside and say, look, you're disrupting the game. I know you're not having fun. So why don't you just pack up and go? No harm, no foul. You tried it. It wasn't for you. I understand it. Thanks. Thanks for playing. I appreciate your time. You know, have a great day. and cut and dry. We're adults, and if they get butt hurt, you go to the store owner or the convention, you say, hey, this guy's being a jerk, and you get him removed. But hopefully it never comes that. But be prepared. I mean, not everyone's going to like the game you're running. And that's just what happens. And so you have to be mature about it, be polite, and then go back there. Number 6, this kind of falls in line with number 5. Have a backup game, a board game, a card game, another RPG. We're coming together. We're going to play Castles and Crusades, and about 2 hours into it, you can just see nobody's enjoying it. Nobody likes it. They don't like the mechanics. They don't like the setting you're selling. They don't like the adventure you're running. Guys, we're not having fun. I brought my magic cards. Did you guys bring your magic cards? Let's play magic. You guys are not having fun. I can tell it. I can feel it. I don't want to subject you to a game you don't want to play. A lot of times, what you'll see is everyone will be like, "Oh, I didn't realize you were having a bad." I'm sorry, because they know you're the GM. They want to keep you happy because they want to keep you running games. There's a reason there's only a few GMs, and there's thousands of players to every one GM. That's just the statistics of it. So your players don't necessarily want to piss you off, and I don't want it to come across like that. But what I'm saying is they need you just as much as you need them. So 9 out of 10 times, if it's a local established group or it's a game store that you play in pretty regularly and you know a lot of the people that are showing up there, if you tell them, hey, I see everybody's not having fun, people will kind of shape up and they'll, oh, no, 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 it's cool, it's cool, I like it. I'm just, I'm not used to it yet. But and then sometimes they'll get more into it, and it'll be a better game. Not always. Sometimes they'll go, yeah, not feeling this. Let's play Magic, or let's play a board game. My game store over in Superior, Level Up, they have free board games. They have racks of free board games that you can play. So a lot of times I'll go there to run a game, and if everybody's not into it, I've actually done this once. If they don't like it, we went and grabbed a board game off the board and we played that board game. You know what? We had a blast. We still got to do our Saturday night gaming. We still got to hang out together, and we were in the middle of downtown, so we could go to a restaurant and have food when we took our break or whatever. So plan accordingly. If you're in your house, obviously that may not be easier to do, but you could order pizza. You probably got access to a bunch of other games. Maybe you can run a different little episode of your adventure that the main player or a couple of players are missing. The point is, be prepared that not everybody's going to enjoy your game, and don't take it personally. Not, again, not everybody likes apples, they like oranges. So if all you're serving is apples and there's 2 or 3 guys that don't eat the apples, don't take offense. They just don't like apples. It's not their fault. Um, and then last but not least, and this one is a big one, and it kind of bleeds in again. 5, 6, and 7 kind of, or 4, 5, 6, and 7 kind of all bleed into other. The last one is ensure all are having fun. Take breaks, discuss the pros and cons of the game, what you like, what you don't like. Is this a fun game? Is this something you could see yourself playing? Do an after action report and give everybody a chance to talk. Part of the reason we play RPGs is we want to be heard. And that's no political or sociological message. That's just, we're human beings, we're social creatures. We want to be heard. We want to be acknowledged. How many times have you played in a game with that socially awkward kid or friend that is quiet the whole day at work? They don't talk. They go in, they do their work, they speak when they're spoken to, and other than that, they don't say anything. And the perception is, wow, man, John's kind of a dick. He doesn't talk, or he's always sad. But then you get him in the game, and he's playing a barbarian fighter, and we're having fun, and he's throwing dice, and he's engaged, and he's super excited. Everybody has their different levels of engagement and what they find fun. So talk to people, give them that moment. You'll be surprised, even your introverted people, when they're sitting around a game table, as time goes on, that introvertness, that shyness, that awkwardness goes away. I've been doing this for almost 40 years, and I've seen it 100 times. That introverted person just comes out of their shell when they feel comfortable, when they feel like nobody's here to judge them or pick on them or anything like that, and they're having fun. And it's amazing the endorphins that your body releases when it's having fun and you're doing something that matters to you and makes sense and feels good. You're going to want to do it more. You're going to want to express that joy and that excitement. And so that's why we play role playing games. We feel good when maybe we're all a bunch of murder hobos in the game, and we kick in the door and we kill the orcs and we take their treasure, and then we move on to the next room. But you know what? If everyone's having fun doing that, then it's fun, you know? It's your job as a GM to ensure that everybody's having fun. And there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, Bobby doesn't like, kicking a door and killing all the orcs. So let's try something different. So put Bobby and the group in a social encounter where kicking in the door and killing the orcs isn't the acceptable medium, and then you'll be surprised how people rise to the occasion. It's just most of these games revolve around combat and treasure. So, and what's the easiest way to get it? Kill the bad guy or the perceived bad guy and take the treasure. There's tons of adventures out there that flip that script. The orcs aren't the bad guys. The orcs are just trying to survive. They're being hunted to extinction, and the local village is just a bunch of murderous hobos. But yet they play themselves off to the party as they're the victims, and these orcs come in and raid and kill everything. And it's not until the players go and explore, find the orcs and realize if they take a moment to talk to them and they see the poverty that the orcs are living in, and like most of their men are wounded or hurt really bad, while the village or the town is living fat off the hog and making the orcs do slave labor. Wait a minute, who's the bad guy here? You know, Conceptually, orcs are the bad guy. Sure, everybody knows that, but this village of humans and dwarves and halflings are subjugate. There's tons of adventures like that, and with different races and creeds and whatever. So give all your players time to shine. Give everybody a chance to say what they liked, what they disliked about the game, and you'll find that. And if you're smart enough and you're perceptive, pick the player that showed the most enthusiasm or was excited about it. Because again, remember, energy breeds energy. So if he's throwing out positive energy, the rest of the players that might have been on the fence will go, you know what? Yeah, it's not really my cup of tea, but I did have fun. And that is the point of the game. Have fun. That's what we want. We want everybody to have fun. And so if you can play a game that everyone has fun with, you've won, right? And then if they want to come back and say, and then I've had this happen many times. We're playing Pathfinder, and then two of my players out of the six can't make it the next weekend. And one of the other players that's going to be there says, hey, let's play Mutant Chronicles, because he loves Mutant Chronicles. He really digs the world and he digs the setting. He likes the 2D20 game system. So I'm like, sure, I'll run Mutant Chronicles any chance I get. It's one of my favorite games. Last night, Saturday night, three of our six players were gone. And so I reached out to the remaining three and said, hey, have you guys heard of a game called The Dark Eye? And they went, nope, never heard of it. I said, all right, well, come on over. I'm going to be all prepared. I'm going to run a quick adventure for you guys and we'll have some fun. And so they did. Everybody came over. Again, we're all used to meeting on Saturday night at 6:30, 7 o'clock. So it wasn't out of the norm for them. They had planned their schedule. They kept their Saturday routine like they always would. And oh, yep, gotta go game tonight, honey. I won't be home. Oh, it's Saturday night. Okay, have fun. Boom. Everybody got out. We met still, so we kept that momentum going for the gaming group, and everybody showed up that could show up, and we played until almost 1 o'clock in the morning, and we had a blast. Everyone enjoyed themselves. They'd never played the Dark Eye, but I had pre-gens ready. I made pre-gens. I had a starting adventure that was an easy adventure to ease them into the mechanics of the game, and yet told a pretty good story, and they won. So they had a very positive feeling of the game. Is it going to replace Pathfinder Second Edition? No, we're highly invested in Pathfinder Second Edition. But the nice part is that when we have a break the next time, I won't be surprised if one or two or all three of them say, hey, we can't play next weekend. Can you run the Dark Eye? I will not be shocked. I will be pleasantly, you know, giddy to do it because I love the Dark Eye. I think it's a fantastic game and I really enjoy it. And it needs more attention and love. So now I've turned on three new people that never knew this game even existed, you know, and now they know about it and they like it. They really like the skill mechanics. They like the setting that I described, and we took a good 2 hours to go over character sheet and the setting and what the world's like, because I'm pretty familiar with the game and I like it a lot. So I explained a lot to them. It was a lot of information overload on their part, but they were into it, and so, yeah. So what are your tips for success for starting a new group or starting a new game with an existing group? Those are my seven. I feel those are the important ones. There's tons of little things that you can interject in there that could make the game or make the transition easier and or worse. And so, what do you do? What do you find that works for you when you're introducing a group to a new game, whether it be at a game store, your local group, or just some casual friends? Put the notes down in a doobly doo. As always, like and subscribe. Peace, love, and hair grease. I hope everyone is doing well. And as always, join the Discord if you can. There's a link in the doobly doo. We talk about all different types of RPGs, and I'm usually online at any given time to answer any questions you might have. But I also try to reply to everything here in the messages. So if there's, I've got nothing else left for you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, like I said, like and subscribe. And as Mr. Mean always says, be nice.